Welcome to Oblivion Remastered. In this video, I decided to spice things up with one simple rule. Every time I die, all enemies get twice as strong. Why did I do this? Because suffering builds character. Just like every other Oblivion start, I spent way too long creating the perfect monster. Nothing screams epic fantasy adventure like fiddling with cheekbone sliders for 20 minutes. Knowing I'd be taking a lot of damage, either from enemies or my own questionable life choices, I decided to pick a race with high agility and speed. After a grueling facial reconstruction session, I finally crafted the epitome of athleticism. Behold, EggBaba, half athlete, half soft-boiled disappointment. So I wanted this challenge to start off nice and easy, so naturally I set the game to master difficulty. In Oblivion, this means enemies do 5 times as much damage, while I only do 1/5 as much damage. Good decisions only from here on out. I wake up in a prison cell, and across the hall, some other prisoner starts insulting me, loudly. So I try to shoot a few fireballs through the bars to shut him up. Turns out, these bars are fireball proof. That's fine, whatever. I assert my dominance the old-fashioned way, by shadowboxing the chains on my wall like a lunatic. Then, the Emperor himself, Uriel Septim, walks into my cell. He looks at me and says,
"I've seen you."
And, well, I apologized. Not for anything in particular, but just for existing. He and his personal bodyguards, the Blades, begin leading me through some secret escape route. Naturally, I assume I can level up by punching them. It worked in Skyrim. Why would it not work here? Well, it doesn't work here. I land a few solid hits on the Emperor. He doesn't flinch. And then, he draws his sword and deletes me from existence in a single swing. And that's the moment I realized. Every time I die, I'm doubling enemy stats. So now we're already at 10 times. Off to a fantastic start. So I respawn. Again. This time, I decide to behave, mostly out of fear, and follow the Emperor like a law-abiding, slightly traumatized citizen. I watch the Blades make quick work of some spectral assassins, and I think, okay, maybe I can just let the professionals handle this. But no, I'm told not to follow them. Instead, a giant rat comes crashing through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man and absolutely ends me. I die. Again. Which means the enemies? Yep, they're now 20 times stronger. At this point, I'm beginning to question everything. My build, my strategy, my life choices. But I persist, because this is Oblivion, and Oblivion is pain. So I reload again, retrace my steps, and this time, I take the high ground, Obi-Wan style, and slip past them with an easy victory. Go, 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 go! Oh god, oh god. Go, go, go! Woo! Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. I then spend the next couple seconds running in circles around the cave, desperately looking for a key that's hidden on the corpse of a goblin who probably died of boredom just waiting for me. Eventually I find it, unlock the door, and step through. At this point, I come to terms with something really important. I'm going to die. A lot. So I do what any seasoned adventurer would. I discover the quick save hotkey. A moment of silence for all the lives I'll be living from now on. I rummage through a nearby chest and find some heavy armor. Perfect. Now I can die more slowly. Oh, no, no, no. Actually. Ah! Oh, okay. Okay, I get it. So that's going to be incredibly helpful during the next 20 fights I plan to lose. And this is when I decide, EggBaba, my character, forged in darkness and poor decisions, is a club guy. It just feels right. Unrefined, blunt, repeatedly disappointing, like the rest of this playthrough. So I sprint deeper into the dungeon, where I cut to a fast-forwarded version of me panicking and running in circles. Ooh! Can't catch me! Oh! No. Eventually, I find a goblin, and I remember I picked up a flashbolt scroll. I missed it. Scroll's gone, goblin's not. So I just keep running. I stumble into 2 more goblins, but this time, I'm not worried. I lured the goblins under the trap and briefly felt powerful for the first time this whole playthrough. I had to take a moment to flex, quietly. What? Later, I found a pile of logs balanced just above another goblin duo. I pushed it over. One goblin gets crushed, the other does not. High on success, I charge in and hit the survivor with my club a few times. He does not die. I do not win. So I run away, full sprint, 0 dignity left. Eventually, I run into the Blades and Emperor Uriel Septim again. They seem surprised to see me still alive, and frankly, so am I. Rather than helping, I decided it's a good time to play Ring Around the Rosie with Glenroy, one of the Emperor's elite guards. This serves no tactical purpose, I just needed to feel something. Then, we reach the part of the dungeon where I'm told I must choose my birth sign. A moment of deep significance, a chance to define who I am, to shape my destiny, to reflect on the kind of hero I want to be. I picked the shadow sign because it grants me invisibility, the perfect choice for someone who's clearly not planning to face anything head on. It's less like heroic bravery and more please don't hurt me. I tell myself this is the strategy, that it's tactical, but deep down, I know this is just fear. We press on, and surprise, more shadowy assassins ambush us. I leap into action and start hurling fireballs like a true battle mage. And by like a true battle mage, what I really mean is I missed every single one. The walls were harmed, assassins, not so much.
I can go no further. You alone must.
Despite my contributions, the Blades are somehow winning the fight. But then Uriel Septim turns to me, completely unprompted, and basically says, I'm about to die. Right, cool, thanks for the morale boost. And just like that, he gets stabbed in the back. The assassin then turns to me, and, well, you can guess what happens next. Guess what? Enemy stats doubled again. So now we are at 40x. So I run it back again. This time, I actually land a few fireballs. I allow myself the smallest shred of hope. The Emperor still dies, and then, of course, I die. Again. Help me! No. No. But hey, third time's the charm, right? Wrong. The Emperor gets assassinated again. But this time, I decide I've grown. I've learned. I puff out my chest, stand tall, and I do the bravest thing I can think of. I run behind the Blades and let them handle it.
Save us. The amulet. Where's the amulet of... Strange. They say it's the...
After the Emperor's untimely and increasingly routine death, Boris decides it's time for me to choose a class. A big moment. A chance to define EggBaba. To shape the legend. Since EggBaba is, let's say, unconventional, I go with a custom class. I decide to specialize in combat. Not because I'm good at it. That ship sank several deaths ago. But because I need something to slightly increase my odds of surviving more than 12 seconds in a fight. Then it's time to pick attributes. I look for a balance of grace and grit, so I choose personality and luck. You know, the two traits most commonly associated with winning fistfights. As for my major skills, I pick things that just seem fun. There's no real plan here. We're beyond strategy. This is all just vibes. Finally, I bestow upon my new creation the perfect class name, a title worthy of EggBaba's fearless, unrelenting cowardice. A name that strikes fear into no one and confuses everyone.
She's a runner, she's a track star.
I also check my newly learned spells and discover my most valuable asset yet. Soothing Touch, a calming, gentle spell that pacifies the soul. In combat, this will be extremely useful for the enemy. I finally climb down to the sewers where I face my next trial, a rat and a goblin. I attempt to use Soothing Touch on the rat, and it works. The rat seems chill. Unfortunately, for the goblin, not so much. I decide to use this moment to level up my archery, but the goblin has other ideas. Ideas, kind of like stabbing. After some failed parkour, a bit of flailing, and one more death, we're now sitting at 160x enemy stats. At this point, I think we're just testing the limits of the game engine. I respawn, again. This time, no distractions, no fighting. I sprint right past the goblin, the rat, and my own poor decisions. Straight into the glowing gate at the end of the sewer. The exit. Freedom. And a loading screen. Finally, I emerge from the sewers, a free citizen of Cyrodiil. A new life ahead of me, endless opportunity, a chance to start over. Naturally, I decided to go back to the prison to settle a score. You remember that guy, the smug prisoner in the cell across the hall from me who just kept taunting me in the beginning? Yeah, that guy. It's unclear if he's still down here, but Revenge doesn't care about details. I talk to the guard at the front desk and politely request to visit a prisoner.
Certainly.
He agrees and just walks off. Now I'm in the dungeon again, standing in front of a random prisoner, no idea if it's the same guy, but he's here and I'm here, and that's enough for me. I open with a few arrows to the skull, conversational, really, and then hit him with the cold touch, right to his face. Classic diplomatic technique. A few fireballs don't do much, so I switch to my club. That was a mistake. Turns out, this guy can swing through iron bars. Come on, man! He reaches through like they're not even there and slaps me into next week. Death. Again. We're at 320 times enemy stats right now. Even the rats are probably running spreadsheets at this point. I decided to pull the Baba Club back out and take a swing at him, only to be met with Conor McGregor's southpaw launching me across the prison hallway. Come on! Fueled by spite and confusion, I respawn and accidentally turn the difficulty slider negative. So when I go back in and hit him with another frost spell, he evaporates like a weak soup. Ha ha! And then casually make my way toward the Imperial City. Fresh off a completely unnecessary act of vengeance against a possibly innocent man, EggBaba walks proud. Once inside the Imperial City, I decide to assimilate like any normal, well-adjusted citizen.
Oh, hello there.
I say hi to a guard, I nod at a passing woman. I'm blending in seamlessly. No one suspects a thing. Then I set my sights on Edgar's Discount Spells, a suspiciously affordable magic shop run by a man who looks like he's seen things. Perfect. I walk in and immediately start rizzing the shit out of Edgar. Not just casual rizz. I'm laying it on like I'm trying to marry into the Thieves Guild. Compliments, charm, deeply unsettling eye contact. Edgar's stone-faced, but I know I'm getting through to him. Once I've softened him up, or completely unnerved him, I sit down in the corner and wait. The plan is simple. He falls asleep, I loot the place, we never speak of it again. Except, Edgar doesn't sleep. He watches, constantly. I'm talking no blinking, no turning away, just this unbroken, suspicious stare that says, I've already reported you to 8 different guilds. So naturally, I snap. I attack. It's time Edgar learned who EggBaba really is. An unstable fugitive with a club and nothing to lose. But Edgar doesn't fight back. Instead, he summons a city guard out of thin air, like there's a panic button under the counter labeled Delete Customer. The guard arrives instantly, sword already drawn, trying to take me to jail. But EggBaba doesn't go to jail. He kind of just dies.
Yeah, right. All right. No, you got me. That was fair. Fair game. That's me. I'm hitting my chest.
And then I remember, I totally forgot to double my stats after my last death. So technically, this was a freebie. Just one last act of mercy from the universe before it resumes its regular schedule of suffering. After recovering from my completely justified death in Edgar's Discount Spells, I decide it's time for revenge. Not petty revenge, symbolic revenge. The kind that makes an example. So I wait until nightfall to pick the lock to his store. Illegal? Sure. Immoral? Absolutely. Necessary? Without a doubt. The second I step inside, I feel spiritually renewed. And then I find it, a scroll, just sitting there, waiting for divine retribution. I pick it up, and Edgar's shop just detonates.
Ha ha ha.
But I'm not done. I creep into the back and break into his bedroom, hoping to liberate some personal belongings as a final insult. But Edgar, somehow, wakes up, blasted him like Frozone with my frost touch, and started smacking him with my club. Edgar then summoned a scamp, this little demon imp thing that started blasting me with Kamehamehas across the room.
Hey, that's not fair. That's not fair.
Dead. Again. Which would normally mean it's time to double the enemy's stats. But this time, no. I've had enough of Edgar's nonsense, so I go back for round 2. I try to cheese it, change up my approach, play a little dirty, and somehow, I still couldn't beat Edgar on 1x difficulty. That's easy mode, the lowest setting the game allows, and I still lost. That's when I completely snapped. I cranked the difficulty slider to -640. I don't even know what that means mathematically, but spiritually, it means Edgar's done. Once he's down, I take a moment to honor his sacrifice in the most sacred way I know. I teabag his body and respectfully borrow his clothes. Oh, yeah. It's just what he would have wanted. Probably. A random city guard then decides it's his time to try and be a hero. He walks in right after the fight, says something about the law. I don't know. He caught these hands. Now, free from consequences and full of righteous spite, I stroll outside like I own the city. And then I make one crucial mistake. I try talking to a guard for direction.
Don't. No.
You know, just to see where the inn is. He pulls out a sword, so I run. No plan, no destination, just pure sprinting. That's EggBaba's brand now. Fight first, adjust the difficulty slider later, and never talk to the guards. Fresh off my murder spree victory in Edgar's bathrobe, I activate my once-a-day invisibility spell and go full spectral menace. I begin haunting the city guard, just circling him, whispering sweet threats. He can't see me, but he knows I'm there. This is EggBaba's psychological warfare. Eventually, my wandering leads me to what I can only describe as divine intervention, a shining beacon, Oblivion's version of a casino. Inside, I discover I can gamble on combat matches, and just like that, poof, all traces of heroism vanish. EggBaba has a new calling, strategic betting and eventual felony theft. But first, a minor detour. I make the classic mistake of talking to another guard. He arrests me on the spot and throws me back in prison. All I lose is -1 to my blade skill, which, let's be honest, hasn't done anything for me except escalate my body count. So I leave the prison, slightly worse at stabbing, but otherwise spiritually unchanged. I've been arrested, jailed, and publicly humiliated, but hey, at least my outfit still slaps. Then, as if summoned by fate itself, a mysterious blue baddie approaches me. No small talk, no context, just slides me a note like this is some medieval Tinder, and just walks away. EggBaba is still reeling. Is this a quest? A romantic subplot? An elaborate multi-level marketing scheme? Obviously, I follow the note's directions. But before I can uncover any grand conspiracy or flirtatious espionage, I'm stopped by a pirate. Not just any pirate, a smug, barefoot lunatic who takes one look at me and calls me Fancy Pants.
I ain't got nothing to say to you, Fancy Pants.
What? I was dancing, bro. You know what? No.
And I'm not gonna lie, it got to me. Before I could even process the insult, he charges me like we've had beef since Morrowind, and proceeds to absolutely rock my world. One moment I'm thinking about destiny and romance, the next, I'm getting dunked on by a guy who looks like he bathes in fish oil. After my brush with pirate humiliation and failed romance, I had to refocus. No more distractions, no more side quests. I had one objective now, fund my future gambling addiction. And what better way to bankroll degeneracy than with a little light grand larceny? So I set my sights on red diamond jewelry. Wait until nightfall and break in. Easy. Inside, I swipe a couple rings and amulets from the display cases like I've done this before. It's smooth, almost elegant. EggBaba is in his element, a clumsy thief in an overpriced robe. Then I head into the basement. And just as I'm elbows deep looting a chest, a city guard spawns out of thin air. I don't think he just walks in, he spawns. Like Edgar's ghost filed a divine complaint and sent this guy straight to me. Now I'm not gonna lie, I panic. I quick load. Surely that'll fix it, right? Wrong. I reload, and there he is again. Same face, same timing, same lawful energy. He's like a cursed NPC that exists solely to ruin my dreams. Now I know I'm supposed to double the enemy stats again, but I'm afraid. Not of dying, that's tradition at this point. I'm afraid of what comes after. 80x was a problem. 640x was a meltdown. I don't even know what to do anymore. So instead, I take the coward's route. Reload a safe save, grab the stolen loot, and book it out of the city like it's on fire. Sometimes, I just don't feel like fighting another magically teleporting rent-a-cop with divine jurisdiction. While wandering the city, I stumble into what can only be described as a secret Goon-Sesh. These shady types are forming a human circle of trust, and apparently there's an entry exam. The first person to steal the diary of Amantius Electus gets inducted into the Thieves Guild. Obviously, I'm in. So I take off running like my crimes depend on it, only to immediately realize I have no idea where this man lives. The city is a maze, my map reading skills are questionable, and I refuse to ask for directions because I'm proud. Eventually, by sheer luck and criminal instinct, I find the house and break in, but it's too late. Methredel, yes, Meth Red Hell herself already beat me to it. Defeated, ashamed, outgooned. But EggBaba doesn't let a little thing like losing stop him from winning. So that night I sneak into her house, find her sleeping like a smug raccoon, and steal the diary back. Petty? Yeah. Effective? Yeah. I return to the Thieves Guild ringleader and hand over the goods. No one questions it. Honor among thieves is extremely conditional. He tells me about a fence, a guy who buys stolen goods and probably has 6 outstanding warrants. Basically a medieval pawn shop, minus the receipt. To celebrate my budding kleptomaniac career, I do what any rational outlaw would. Steal a horse. Not just any horse, the slowest horse in Cyrodiil. I name him Regret. Regret is fast in water. Fast on cliffs.
Move, horse.
Fast at reminding me that maybe walking was better. He moves like he's hauling invisible baggage and unpaid taxes. Still, we push forward, bound for Bruma. Along the way, I face one of the greatest bosses in Oblivion, a lone mudcrab. It lunges, I start blasting fireballs. Victory is mine. And like any true champion, I celebrate by eating my opponent raw. The road to infamy is a long one. Now, with my hard work haul sold off to a man who definitely doesn't pay taxes, I race back to the arena to feed my one true passion, gambling. I throw everything on the blue team, pop a few bottles of wine, and watch the carnage unfold.
Come on, Blue! Come on. Come on. He's doing it. Come on. Come on. My boy's got a weapon at least.
Yellow didn't stand a chance, mostly because Blue had something called a weapon.
Let's go! Woohoo!
I then celebrate with the fellow citizens in my VIP box. And by celebrate, I mean I start swinging at them like I'm handing out free concussions. Apparently, this is frowned upon because they collectively beat me to death.
I won! I won!
Turns out, even in victory, I still lose. Feeling rich and emboldened, I double down, this time on Team Yellow. And by some miracle, they win, twice in a row. I'm rolling in gold and healthy dopamine right now. I've never felt more alive or more financially unstable. But watching Bloodsport just isn't enough anymore. No. It's my time to shine. I throw off my designer robe and swap it for some heavy arena armor. Clunky, rusty, fabulous. EggBaba is ready for war. Or at least public embarrassment. But first, I remember, I did die recently. Time to honor the rules and double the enemy stats again. We're now at 1,280x difficulty. A perfectly reasonable number for a perfectly unreasonable decision. The gates open, I charge in. I begin with my signature move, Soothing Touch, directly to the enemy's face. Shockingly, this does not resolve the conflict. So we go again. Double the difficulty, 2,560x. This time, I go full stealth and watch my opponent cower in fear. After I blast her with a firebolt, I get cut down. But what did you expect? EggBaba out.